Hey, come through, just you or your crew. I just want to tell you about some news you could use. It's the All Black Matters Podcast. Hey. Okay, guys, so before I get into this episode, I got to tell you guys about this amazing app that I found for podcasters. If you are interested in podcasting, never had a podcast before, know nothing about podcasting, I'm telling you, you want to download this app. It's called the Anchor app. Now, the Anchor app has literally everything you could ever need to build your podcast for absolutely $0. I am not joking. It's literally what I use to record my podcast every week. If you are at all interested in getting into the game, you want resources, you want to be able to record with friends, you want to be able to have all the things that you need basically as a starter kit, you want to download this app. Just go to anchor.fm and get started. Guys, you're going to thank me later, I'm telling you. Hey guys, welcome back to the All Black Matters Podcast. I'm your host, Rifka. You know how we do here. Today I kind of have some stuff I want to get off my chest. So today is a get stuff off my chest episode. Hopefully you enjoy anyway, but let's get straight into it. Something recently happened and it's weighing heavy on my heart, and I just really want to talk about it. So, I think this experience is common, among Black women specifically. I think Black people in general, but especially Black women in the workforce, people who are educated, people who have, gone to school, has some experience working in corporate America or whatever country you're from. This is something that you're probably all too familiar with, and it just happened to me for the umpteenth time. So I am looking for a job. I'm looking for a new job. I have been back in the country for, I would say, 3 months now. I came back in March, and I'm looking for something that I can build my career. I'm looking for something that I just got a new apartment. I have to pay rent, as you do. This is New York City. Come on, you need to be making money. Especially at a time like this, I think I've been privileged enough to get some kind of work, even though it hasn't been what I have wanted per se. But, you kind of do what you can with what you have until you get where you want to go. So that's kind of been my approach. Now, within saying that, I work for a few temp agencies, and, I would be getting kind of certain positions and things like that. In this position in particular, it was working with, Department of Education. I won't say specifics because obviously I just don't feel like it's necessary. I think that the point can be conveyed without, giving a whole lot of details. And it's obviously not about a specific company or anything like that. It's just a general concept of what I'm saying. So anyway, I have an interview with these people just recently. And from what I understood, the program was basically something to an extent of a after school program or an additional learning, program. I don't know how else to describe it, but after school, that's the first thing that it reminds me of. But it was working with the DOE, and basically I would be, a part of the administrative team, helping, just within different areas, within different capacities within the team to support both teachers and executives and things of that nature. And for me, I was like, oh, this is great. This is in my city. This is in my borough. This is something that, the kids, you just think, this is dope. Giving children within my community the opportunity to have additional services if they have issues and if they're struggling. That's great. I would love to be a part of that. Absolutely. Let me see, let's see what this is about. So I go on to have the interview, and I don't know, maybe the thing about the wording when you look up, because, before you go into an interview, you obviously do your research. At least you should do your research. So I had researched this company, And I found on their website, information about the curriculum. And I thought it was a little different. I'm like, okay, cool. That's something else, but that's, what works and stuff like that. And I was just interested in knowing more. I saw certain wording as far as like the population that they helped. And I was like, oh, okay, like maybe that's just a way that they describe, people from here or whatever case may be. Upon going into the interview now, I don't know if you guys know this about my name. It was very Jewish. It's a Hebrew name. And so a lot of people, it's not even just like a regular Jewish name. It's very, very Jewish. So a lot of people would just assume that I am a Jewish girl. And then they see me and it's like, oh, okay. So I've been dealing with that. You can imagine my entire career. A lot of people will say that has been an advantage that, I may have had. I mean, I'm very educated and I work a lot, very, very hard. But, some people would say like, oh, I would get called for certain things because they assume that I'm a Jewish girl, et cetera, et cetera. I think that to a certain extent, there is some truth to that. But obviously, I live in black skin. I can't be anything but black. So in this situation, I would like to believe the assumption was the same. And they were expecting a Jewish girl to pop up on Zoom with them. I happen to be black with silver hair right now. And I am proud of that. And I will not lessen myself, to be a part of anybody's organization or anything. I'm just not in a place anymore in my life where I feel like I need to do that. And I think as a people, we should not even feel like we need to do that. What I wanted to talk to you about with regard to this specific instance is just the fact that there was just I feel like an unspoken understanding. And that's what I'm going into now, is that throughout the conversation, there was mention that this was that these people or this program serviced predominantly Jewish kids, right? In Brooklyn, in my community, Jewish kids. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with, Jewish kids receiving additional services for, development and growth and education, etc. But my thing was, throughout the conversation that I'm having the interview with these people, they're mentioning, just bragging a bit, as you do in interviews, you kind of like talk up your company, like, yeah, like we do this, we do that. And one of the things that was mentioned was that the DOE had given them a multi-million-dollar deal to basically service New York City. And so my question, as I'm listening to these people go on and on about how, great their services are and how they service the community, was, okay, but what about the rest of the community? What about the rest of the community that is also disenfranchised? You're talking about people that, and, they would mention things like, yeah, we just feel so good about servicing the community and kids who need these services, who, have developmental issues, et cetera, et cetera. And all the while, I'm like, so only Jewish kids have developmental issues? So only Jewish kids have, needs for additional academic services, and that would put them above the curve, that would, basically center them and give them resources that they can understand the curriculum or whatever that they're doing in school a lot better. So only Jewish kids have that? Like, why is this multi-million-dollar grant only going to a I don't want to say a minority, but like a segregated population? If you're from Brooklyn, if you're from New York, you already know, you've already seen that the Jewish community is not a part of our community. Like, just in general in New York, they have their own things on top of everything else. So, and especially when you talk about Hasidic Jewish people, they based off of, I guess, religious beliefs, et cetera, they don't really integrate with us. They don't integrate with us. They're not around us. They might be on the same block as us, and it's a whole different thing. You might not even get a, hey, hi, how are you doing? From Hasidic Jewish people. We have seen so many video clips. If you live in Brooklyn, you've seen, like, I remember growing up in Brooklyn, and Wingate Park is like, it's in Crown Heights, if you don't know. And I remember an instance when I was a little girl, that I was in the park and it was a Jewish little girl that came, and me and that's the hood. If you know, but Wingate Park is not in like a prestigious, area in Brooklyn. And but it's on the borderline of, you know, a Jewish neighborhood as well, and a Jewish part of Crown Heights, I would say. And you know, I remember being on the swings, me and my friends, you know, just swinging, just doing what we do, kiki, whatever. And I remember this little Jewish girl just looked at us, like, I think we had said hello or something to her, and she just stared at us. And it's the fact that she didn't respond. It's the fact that, like, there was this air of, like, I don't need to speak to you. And if you, like, the thing about it is very hard to explain this to somebody who has not experienced it, as is with so many other racial and, like, you know, prejudice views and things like this. It's very hard to explain it to someone who's never been through it. But if you know, you know, right? And I just feel like that has been always something that I've had to deal with, one, being a Brooklynite and being in a community that, if you know, obviously it's definitely segregated, but also, like, we're all together. So we can see that you don't want to be around us, or we can see that there's a difference between the way that you interact with us. And you know what I mean? Like, it's very visible. It's very obvious, you know, even in your structures, you know, there's a police force that is, you know, geared just to Jewish people. Like, we don't have our own police force, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that people in certain cultures and certain communities should not have certain levels of protection and certain things like that. But what I'm saying is, when it excludes certain people and those others, quote unquote others, feel like they're not allowed to be a part of the conversation, or you don't even want anything to do with us, that's where I believe it becomes a greater issue, right? And then when you have people like me who have worked with Jewish people time and time again, and I'm not saying all, but have worked around these Hasidic Jews for years, I'm saying years, and have seen how there's this level of, we are better, and you should be doing things the way that we do things, and et cetera, you start to see that there's a trend, right? And whether that be because of religious beliefs or just personality, like, I don't know, but then you see it systematically on this level. And that's why I brought this instance up, is because it broke my heart. And I'm going to tell you guys why it broke my heart. I'm going to try to be as articulate as possible, because I'm very emotional about this. I literally just was crying about it, because I just feel like there's a couple things. I'm not crying because Jewish people are getting, you know, services in Brooklyn, right? We know that Jewish people live here. Like, that's not the problem. The issue I find was that there was a lot of wording to say, you know, you'll be dealing with people who will be going home early on certain days and observing certain holidays. And, you know, you would be expected, however, to work 9 to 5 and, you know, work Monday through Friday and, you know, not take those days and things like that. Things like, you know, working with the Jewish community, there's certain things that you have to understand and, you know, just have to kind of work around. And I'm like, why? Why is there this what's the word? There's this, okay, Rifka, get it together. There's this almost like expectation that I should bend or be accommodating to other people, when in reality they should be that, as, you know what I mean? Like, it's not this mutual understanding where it's like, I respect you, you respect me, we, you know what I mean, cohabitate or, you know, coexist, you know, together, and we have a mutual understanding. It's more of a situation of just understand that, like, I remember one of them said to me, you know, because I asked her, like, so in your experience working with this company, what would you say has been X, Y, and Z, right? She mentioned, you know, it was really hard at first, but, you know, I've learned that being someone who isn't Jewish, being white, by the way, just to clarify, you know, I have learned how to kind of maneuver, and, you know, I am stern, and I do think I get certain leverages because I'm not Jewish, but, like, they respect me. They've learned to respect me anyway. I'm like, bro, like, you, it's just not for me. You get me? Like, it's just not for me. And it's more concerning. And this is the part where I felt like the most charged about this entire situation is that, like, the DOE, my guy, is giving when I tell you, they said it casually. Yeah, multi-million-dollar deal over such and such amount of years. I'm like, so the partnership that you have with the Department of Education that knows, because even the mention of, like, you know, the head of, you know, the such and such is a Jewish person. I'm just like, so you guys, the DOE has partnered with a group of people knowing that they're giving X amount of freaking dollars to a marginalized, like, you could have been a black person? Could a black person have gone up to the DOE and say, hey, we're going to be only servicing black young kids who are underprivileged and don't have certain services, and we're going to go into our neighborhoods and only service us, and can you give us, what, 10, 50 million? Just so we could make sure that our kids are developed. Would that have been the same response? You get what I'm saying? And that's where I got upset, because I'm like, damn, like, you guys have such a pride in telling me so much about this program. And I even asked them, I said, so, you mentioned that there's, that you guys service a Hasidic Jewish population. Is it, like, is the whole population Hasidic Jewish? Because I'm like, because there are schools within Brooklyn that are charter schools, and because they were saying that they service private schools. I said, well, there's charter schools, there's private schools that service a diverse amount of people. Like, is it only Hasidic Jews? And they were like, yeah, well, primarily right now that's what it is, and it's really, really hard to get into other schools. And I'm like, bro, honestly, like, there has to be a desire. There has to be an agenda. There has to be a want to do this. It can't just be, oh, well, if we don't get it, we don't get it. That's why you would find that everybody, that you service is of Jewish population, because you have no desire or no invested interest in anybody else. And it's like, again, I cannot be mad at them for that, because ultimately the owner, as mentioned, and other people that's involved with that program are Jewish people. So of course their agenda is within their own community. But my thing is, and I guess what hurt me the most is that just like our structures and our, like, the systems that are put in place above us to advance, or to quote unquote advance us, or not advance our children, obviously are unbalanced, right? And I know that we know this. I know this is something that it's something that, like, it's obvious, and yes, Rifka, you're talking about something and we already know, and etc. But it's just really disheartening, and I just wanted to highlight it today, because I'm like, bro, this hurts. This hurts that I got to think about my kids and my, the people that are going to grow up around me, and they're going to be in school. The fact that just automatically, I don't know how exactly the deal would work, right? I wasn't in the room with the executives when they were, discussing the details and how it's going to work. But I'm pretty sure if it was a black woman or a black man that was saying, hey, we want X amount of millions of dollars so that we can service our community for disenfranchised youth, would they have had the same, yeah, sure, do it? You know that they only are operating in this city, and they're getting that much money. This is not even like a global or a multi-state. This is one city. And of course we know that New York has millions of dollars. Like, come on. But it's just like the idea that is just for servicing one population, and all of the schools are in Brooklyn. So you mean to tell me that the DOE can't just be like, hey, we see y'all over here. We see, and they're talking about test scores and things like that, that these kids have lower test scores, or they don't really have an understanding of certain things. And it's like, they got a lot of other kids that y'all are putting in special ed, that y'all are putting in other things, and y'all not giving a certain services to. Y'all not paying the teachers adequately for them to be able to invest back into our communities, but y'all giving multi-million-dollar contracts. Like, I am just... Like, I am just, like, I don't know, guys. This sounds like a whole rant from me, but I just think that it's really important to highlight. And the reason why I think it's important to highlight is because we have to, I've been, to be honest, like, this whole, like, investing into our communities, I've been on this wave for a time now. Like, I know it sounds probably like it's new and da-da-da-da. Like, for me, child, I've been doing my research behind the scenes. I've been on this trying to make sure that this is a thing that we're doing and not just saying. So you see this whole wave where everybody's kind of jumping on it. And I don't mean any disrespect to people who are just learning or educating themselves now. I mean to the people that are doing it just for the show and just to say, hey, here's a cameo of me saying Black Lives Matter. No, like, we have to make change, guys. We have to know our local officials, elected officials, people that are, running for office. We need to know in our locally what's happening, because those are the things that make the difference, guys. We need to make sure that we're plugged in. You know what I mean? Not just with our politicians, with every part of like these systems, and not just the systems, but know in your communities who's doing what as far as like the Black agenda? Who's pushing that? What people in your communities can you find that are actually for us? Because you see them people, they are not worried about us. Nobody is worried about the Black agenda but Black people. I'm gonna just let you know that right now. Nobody's gonna care for us like we care for us. And so I think that I just really wanted to kind of like get on here and say this while it was still hot for me, because this is the reason why we do what we do as people that are like supporting Black Lives Matter, as people that are pushing this agenda, is because nobody else is concerned. No, they can have so much money, and not even to say like, hey, like maybe let's kind of like distribute this to the entire population. Let's maybe, kind of give this to the entire community who all live in the same environment. Maybe they don't have the same circumstances, but there's disenfranchised kids all over Brooklyn. There's kids without parents. There's kids without, resources. There's kids living in shelters that are not Jewish kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we gonna do something, why can't we just all do it? And it's like, okay, cool. If y'all gonna do that over there and we're not like basically invited to y'all's little, party over there, why can't the DOE also say, hey, we're giving this to, Jewish kids? Can we, let's also put an initiative in place for, disenfranchised Black and brown kids or Black kids, you know what I mean? Or people who need this as well that are not part of that, don't even have the privilege. Because remember, this is for private schools. So they already have the privilege of paying and being a part of a private school system. You know what I'm saying? That's a bit of privilege right there. There are Black and brown kids who don't even have that privilege. They don't got money for no private school. They don't got money for no, you know what I mean? No other kind of education, but whatever the public school system has to offer them. And a lot of the times, those kids are the ones that don't get the resources and everything else. Why are we not investing into our public schools? Like, it's just so many things. And again, like I say, guys, I think that this is just charging me even more. Obviously, guys, if you haven't realized by now, I'm not going with that job. But, and I mean, that even in saying that, right, there's so many implications behind that. Because look at how you have to kind of like, or at least in my position, I don't want to say you, but like in my position, in my experience, I've always been kind of like called on for positions that were predominantly Hasidic Jewish environments because of my name, and because they think that as a person named Rifka, you are definitely a Jewish girl, and I'm not. I'm the blackest of the black. I mean, hello. But obviously they don't know that on paper. So being constantly kind of like straddling the fence, for me, I have to think about, okay, economically now, that's impacting me. Because now I got to think, okay, you got to look for a different job. We don't know, you get what I'm saying? Like, we don't know the variables within that, but you got to kind of like, if you have a stand, this is what you're passionate about, it comes with so many other things. And I think that as Black people, as Black women in particular, outside of it being Jewish, outside of it being that, there's so many elements of this kind of like, be this way to make sure that these people are not intimidated by you. Be this way so the men that you're working with don't feel like, they can't say, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have power, whatever the case may be. And it's like, bro, first of all, I shouldn't even be in that environment where I'm made to feel smaller. I am very qualified. Like, I don't even want to go into that because this is not even about me on some bragging stuff. But like, to be honest with you, it's like you always have to do it as a Black woman, being qualified, being overqualified and underpaid a lot of times. And then I being with the Jewish name that I got, thanks mama, that now I have to deal with that layer of that, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not complaining to say like, cause thankfully I didn't quit my other job. So it ain't like I'm, I was gonna say homeless. It's not like I'm like unemployed right now, even though the job that I have right now, they're grateful that I have one. But anyways, there's different layers to things, right? But it's just like, again, just be mindful, guys. I really wanted to talk about this because I think it's a shared experience that we have, in this community. And it's why we need to be charged up and we need to be so adamant and not just letting this whole Black Lives Matter and riots and protests and things like that and petition signing and putting pressure on our government officials and our local officials. It should not be momentary. It needs to be something that continues because the problem is still there. Even in this time of us talking about all this stuff, literally just now, I had a conversation with someone who talked about, you get what I'm saying? Like, this isn't a problem that's just like, oh, and we're going to just solve it because we're saying Black lives. No, we need to be putting pressure on the people that make the decisions, that make the legislation. Like, we need to be changing legislation. We need to be radical about this. And if we're not, there's not going to be a change. We're not going to see a significant amount of change. And we are seeing steps. There are steps, things that are happening. But I just want to remind everyone. I want to remind everyone that's listening to me, whether you are Black, whether you are a different color, if you are concerned about the Black agenda, if you are someone who wants to support just in any regard, in this instance, I'm talking about Black kids, because I think the education of our babies are really, really important, especially at a time like this. I mean, some of them are living it, and some of them will be able to say, I have lived through X, Y, and Z, but the ones that aren't born yet, the ones that don't know, the babies right now, they need to be educated about everything that, can empower them, everything that can empower them, that can give them an advantage. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just needs to be. And I won't stop, man. I won't stop until change happens. I won't stop until whatever little corner I'm in the world, I could say something, I could post something, I could sign something, I could walk for something, I could donate something, whatever it is. I want to be a part of that. And I just really hope that you guys do too. And that's really all I got. I mean, child. This one got me heated. I'm not going to lie. Any resources that you guys have that support the Black agenda, that support Black Lives Matter, that support the education of our children, Black children, whether that be in public school, whether that be in private school, whether that be additional educate, whatever it is, please reach out to me. Give me those resources. I will link anything that I find in the description of this episode. But it's just so important. It's so important because when you think about the gravity of someone giving someone multi-million-dollar contracts to service I don't want to say a small portion because there's a lot of Jewish people in Brooklyn, but it's not equal. You get what I'm saying? And we don't have that same advantage, especially because these are kids that are already in private school. So I just think that if you guys have any resources, please share them with me. I will share whatever I have. And let's continue to remember to, this is why we do what we do. And we need to elevate our people, elevate our cause. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the All Black Matters podcast. My family is getting stronger here. And I'm emotional and stuff, but I'm really emotional about that too. You feel me? Thank you so much for joining every week, listening to me, being here with me, supporting. You get what I'm saying? This is such an important part of my life now, guys. And I am so happy that I have people that understand, get it, are supportive of it, and want to listen. I think that's amazing. That's incredible. And I just want to say shout out to all of you guys. I mean, I need you guys to be writing me more so that I can shout you out for real. And thank you so much and have a wonderful week.